Yeah, just mute. Hey, everybody. Okay, so I have a very special guest here with me tonight. We have Sammy. That's what he's going to go by. And he's a very close individual that has not only helped the family with the Crystal Rogers case, but he's also helped search for her many, many times, just about every search that there's been out there. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and introduce you all to Sammy. Sammy, how you doing?
I'm good. Hello.
Hello. Okay, so what I'm going to do first is just play two small clips just to kind of give people a little bit of insight onto the case if they're not aware, okay?
Okay.
All right, so hold on, let me get my screen share going. All right. Audio. All right, can you all see my screen?
A mother of 5 still missing, gone though on the 4th of July weekend of 2015. At first, no one worried. But when hours turned to days and days to weeks, worry was all anybody could do. Tonight, the Unsolved team is telling you more about that mom and the search to find her. Here's Shay McAllister.
If you wander off too far, my love will get you home. If you follow the wrong star, my love will get you home.
My daughter didn't deserve nothing that happened to her.
This property is the last property that she was seen at, as far as we've been told.
If Crystal's out there and can see us, we're hunting for you.
My love will get you home.
I'm sorry. Just give me a minute. I should be used to this, but Crystal was my first. She weighed 4 pounds and 12 ounces when she was born.
Her parents' pride and joy, and eventually a mother of her own. Crystal had 4 children before meeting boyfriend Brooks Houck.
We were very picky parents, I won't lie. We wanted what was best for our daughter. And all the other relationships we didn't think were best for our daughter. So when she met Brooks, I think she saw the opportunity, not knowing where that was going to lead her down the road.
Crystal and Brooks shared a home and together had a son. The couple and their toddler were together the last night Crystal was known to be alive.
Supposedly they went to the farm and they walked back in the field to feed the cows. My daughter's not going to walk back in the field in the pouring down rain, especially with her baby. I just don't see her doing that. And then they left the farm and went back home, and Brooks went to bed, and Crystal was still up on her phone, and Eli was running around playing, and supposedly she was not there when he got up. She was just gone.
Gone. But Sherry Ballard says Brooks didn't tell anyone his girlfriend was missing. Sherry didn't know her daughter was missing until days later.
And when it was Sunday and she still hasn't called, I started panicking.
Sherry and her husband Tommy rushed to the Nelson County Sheriff's Office to file a missing persons report. While they waited for word of Crystal, they got a call about her car.
Her brother called me and said that they had found her vehicle in the Bluegrass Parkway.
Crystal's keys, purse, and phone were inside.
So we all went out to the BG where they found her car, and we stayed there until they took her car away. And then that night we got up a search, and we were out till like 3 o'clock in the morning searching the farm that backed up to the BG where they found her car.
Sherry says Brooks never helped the family search.
I found it odd that he didn't go to the sheriff's department with me and place the report with me. He didn't do anything.
Walking through woods, ponds, and fields, the family was discouraged when weeks went by with no sign of Crystal.
I'm kind of facing reality. I don't want to believe it, but I feel like she's not here.
And then October brought some answers. When the former Nelson County Sheriff announced Brooks Houck was the main suspect in Crystal's disappearance.
It makes me feel a little better, but we still haven't found Crystal.
And then the sheriff added, he's not sure the family ever will.
She has vanished from Earth, and I think it's safe to say that she's dead.
Investigators said it boldly. The missing mother was assumed dead and her boyfriend the main suspect in her case. But that boyfriend, Brooks Houck, wasn't charged. And now, 4 years later, he's never been charged and Crystal has never been found. Tomorrow night at 6, our investigation continues as another tragedy takes hold of the Ballard family and turns their life upside down. For the Unsolved team, I'm Shay McAllister.
If you're following these cases, and many of you are, you need to go ahead and join our Unsolved Insiders group. That's where people are discussing their theories and ideas about the Bardstown cases. You can jump into the discussion right now by connecting on Facebook. Just search Unsolved Insiders and hit join.
Okay. And really, that is what this is all about, you guys. Thanks for joining me tonight. And I have Sammy here with me. How are you doing, Sammy?
Hello, I'm doing good.
It's good to talk to you again. We had a brief discussion last night. Well, a couple hours discussion last night getting ready for this tonight. So are you pretty ready to talk to me again for a couple hours?
Oh, yeah.
So just a little background. Bardstown is not far away from me. And this story just, it hit me pretty hard. Not the fact, I mean, me and Crystal's about the same age, and just the fact that I was able to participate in helping, like I told you last night, and I've told you before, I prayed and prayed that my health would allow me to help search for her, not only myself, but my mom. So we went and we helped search, and I met you. I was fortunate enough to meet you, and I met Tommy and Sherry, and oh my gosh, they are just the most precious people. And God rest his soul, Tommy. Tommy, if you all, I know Caslin's in here. I'm not sure if Caslin, I haven't got to talk to her personally, but I will tell you throughout my whole life, Tommy gave the best hugs I think I have ever received. And he was just a hugger, wasn't he, Sammy? And just
Yes,
awesome people.
yeah, Tommy or Sherry both would always, get the shirt off their back for you. Would do anything to help anybody.
And I was a part of Facebook, and I, within the past year, I've deleted my Facebook, but I would stay tuned into the Facebook and the posts and stuff, and we'll get into that a little bit later as to, what happened right before Tommy, his accident happened. But if you want to go ahead and just kind of briefly let people know what happened and how you got involved into the case, Sammy.
Okay. Sherry is my niece, and so me and Tommy were friends in high school. So was Sunday, I was on Facebook and I seen a post where Crystal was missing. And so I started calling family I called Tommy and Sherry, but neither one answered the phone. And I called family, and they started telling me what was going on and that they had found her car on the
And this
beach.
was what weekend? July 4th weekend of 2015?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
And so I met Tommy and Sherry. They went back to the sheriff's office, and I was there when they got there, from finding her car.
Mm-hmm.
And Tommy knows, we got a big family, and he asked me that night, he said, can you get some people up to help search? He said, we're going down to search where her car is. And so, I started calling everybody I knew, family, friends, but I made Tommy and Sherry a promise that night. I said, Tommy, I'll stay with you until, we bring Crystal, we find her. And like Sherry said, we searched, most of the night up to, I think it was I don't know, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the morning when I finally got home. Come home, took a shower, and went straight back. Uh, and we got a tip that led us to a river. So when I got down to the river that day, we had people started show. I started putting it on Facebook that we were searching, and people started showing up. And Tommy come up to me and he said, uh, "Can you tell these people where to go? You know, where to search? You know, start getting areas to search." So when people would come in, I set up a command post, and when people would come in, I would send them out to different areas to start searching. And this was Monday. We searched all day Monday, and then Tuesday we went to the river. And from then it just led to a massive search every day.
There was how many people do you think showed up for the first search?
I'd say hundreds of people. I mean, we had the whole road lined with cars and people on four wheelers and people coming in with horses and people on the river in boats and canoes and kayaks, and we just several hundred people showed up. That whole People even took their vacation, went ahead and took their vacation and stayed with us, for 2 weeks searching.
Oh, wow. And how many children does Crystal have?
Five altogether. She's got four, and then one with Brooks.
Okay, and Brooks was her live-in boyfriend, correct?
Yes.
And her sister, which is a couple of years younger than Crystal, but her sister Brooke. Now, don't get that mixed up. Her sister is Brooke, and her live-in boyfriend, which is the main suspect, is Brooks Houck. Brooks with an S. Her sister Brooke had stated, I believe it was on the Megyn Kelly show, that um, Crystal had told her, excuse me, Crystal had told her Wednesday of that same week that she was planning on leaving Brooks and was going to go her separate ways, correct?
I'm not for sure. I didn't get to see the show.
Yeah, that's what she told Megyn Kelly. So that's already out
Okay.
there. She had told on the Megyn Kelly show that she had talked to Crystal the Wednesday prior. And so I think Crystal went missing on, was it July 3rd or July 4th? I think it was July 3rd, which was a Friday, right?
Yeah.
So she had talked to her on that Wednesday and basically told her, yeah, she was going to be leaving Brooks and, parting ways with him. So, I mean, just everything together. And what was it, Brooks' alibi? He basically said that there's video evidence out there. I don't have that pulled up, but showing Crystal at the Bardstown Walmart right before she come up missing. And then she had went home. They basically had ate supper, and then Brooks has said that they had went to the farm, correct, to go feed the
Yes.
cows.
Yes. That was his story.
That
they
was
had
his
left
story.
and went to the farm to go feed the cows. But it was like in the video, Sherry said that, Crystal was not going to go out in the pouring rain out across the field to feed cows, with Eli, her son with her.
And how old
think
was
he-
Eli?
I think he was 2 when
2
she
at
went
the time.
missing.
Okay.
2 or 3, I can't remember exactly. But yeah, Crystal wasn't going to go out, in the pouring rain.
Especially with a
Yeah.
2-year-old. Take a chance on getting
Yeah.
the 2-year-old sick and what have you. And Crystal was very, very close to her kids, not only just her other kids, but her 2-year-old. And she wouldn't leave her 2-year-old alone with Brooks,
No,
usually.
Yeah, Crystal was a good mother, and I don't think Brooks had any much to do with Eli. Crystal was the one always had him, and anytime you ever seen Crystal out, just say Walmart or wherever, she always had the kids with her.
Right. And it showed
You
in
know,
the
she
in the
was,
video surveillance at Walmart that the kids were with her. I think she had 2 children with her and then Eli at the time at Walmart. And that footage was around what, 5:30 that evening?
5 o'clock, she left Walmart.
And so they left Walmart, went home, and Brooks' story is that after they left the farm, they went back home. They had a little quote spat, and then he went to sleep, took Eli to bed with him, and Crystal stayed up playing games on her phone. This is all documented on the Nancy Grace show. And then he woke up with Eli in the bed with him, correct? And Crystal was gone.
Yeah, he said that when he went to bed, Eli was up with Crystal. And then when he woke up that morning, Eli was in the bed with him and Crystal was gone. You know, and he couldn't find her. And he, you know, never called, never checked to see where she was at, or
Never even reported her missing. Went
and
ahead
never
and went
called.
to 4th of July at his family's, correct?
Yes, Saturday night, his family had a big fireworks show, and he went to their party.
And mind you, he had not heard, I mean, from Crystal. He had stated that he had called her, I think, once or twice. And he even stated he had spoken with her early that morning, right? Is that what he said? I could be wrong on that. But I know
No,
he stated he tried calling her a couple of times and there was no answer.
Yeah, he didn't talk to her. He said he didn't, you know, he hadn't talked to her.
But he
Since
tried.
Friday.
Right. Supposedly he tried.
And him and his mother and Eli went to the party that night. And, you know, never, I guess, worried about where Crystal was, or never cared enough to, you know, call Sherry or call somebody to see where she was at.
Now, how did it come up that, she was missing and nobody had heard from her?
Well, her daughter called Sherry looking for her, said, "Have you seen my mom?" And Sherry said, "No, I hadn't talked to her today," and that was Saturday. And then I think she called Sherry a couple more times, and Sherry said, "No, I hadn't heard from her." And so then Sunday, you know, she called Sherry back again and said, "Hey, you know, where's Mama at? I can't find Mama nowhere." And, you know, and that kind of got Sherry worried. And so I think she run into Brooks at Lowe's, if I
And let me
remember
just
right.
let me just back you up for a second. Sherry is Crystal's mom, and Sherry had tried contacting Crystal on the phone, right, and had no response from
Yes.
her all weekend. So that was kind of
Yeah.
like a red flag for Sherry, because it was not like Crystal did not return her mom's phone calls, or her daughter's for that matter.
Yeah. And then Sunday, uh, you know, the daughter called back again, and, you know, Crystal still hadn't, you know, returned no calls. So that's when Sherry, you know, went and reported it, you know, went to the police station, her and Tommy, and reported her missing. And then that's when, you know, they got the call that her car was found on the BG. But this time it was done out there, you know, on social media, that they were looking for Crystal, and somebody called Crystal's brother and said that they had seen her car on the BG Parkway.
And her car
And
was pretty
so,
easy to spot. It was a burgundy Impala, Chevy Impala, correct?
yeah,
So a red car is typically easier to spot. And I tell you what, since this has happened, anytime I see a car on the side of the road, I automatically look at the car, the description, and the time. You know,
yeah, I think that everybody that was in, not even the people that were in on the search, but even people that knows this case now, when they drive down the road, they make a mental note of every car on side of the road. And
now,
it's just something that sticks with you, you know.
wasn't it Sunday that Sherry was driving down the road and saw Brooks at a gas station and followed him and got him to pull over? I know she had stated that on the Megyn Kelly show.
Yeah, she met him. She seen him at Lowe's.
Oh, was it Lowe's? Okay.
When she come down the road, she seen his truck at Lowe's and pulled in and asked him if he had seen Crystal. And she told him no. And she said Eli was in the back seat.
He asked
And
her if she had seen Crystal, or she asked
no,
him?
Sherry asked Brooks if he had seen Crystal,
Uh-huh.
and he said no, I hadn't seen her. And Sherry said, "Well, I'm going to the police to report her missing." So that was Sunday. I don't know the exact time, but that was Sunday, and then she went to the police station from there, and and they reported her missing.
And Cherry had also made the statement that she had seen Eli in the back in his car seat,
Yes.
poke his head out. And she knew right then that was a red flag to have Brooks alone with Eli, because Eli didn't take those kids anywhere by himself. And Crystal did not go anywhere without those kids. So that was a big red flag to Sherry. Hey, something's wrong.
Yeah.
So that's where she went straight to the police department, right?
Yes.
Now,
They wouldn't.
Go ahead.
I was just saying they went and reported her missing. And by this time, it was all over social media, about her missing. So, and again, she's, somebody spotted her car. I guess they were coming down the BG.
Now, when they found her car, who was it that found her car? Actually spotted it and went and found it.
I don't remember the guy's name. It was one of Casey's friends. Casey is Crystal's brother.
Okay.
They called Casey and said, hey, we'd come down the BG and that Crystal's car might be down around side of the BG. So him and Tommy and Sherry took off down there.
And for those of you that don't know, Tommy is Crystal's dad. And we'll get into that a little later in the show. But so Tommy and Casey and then Sherry went and, basically found her car. And then what happened?
I don't know, exactly. But, when they got there, Casey opened the door. And her phone and her purse was still in the car.
And the keys were in the ignition, right?
Yeah.
And
her
car
car had a flat tire.
Yeah. Now, I wanted to ask you, as far as that flat tire, do you know if they ran any diagnostics on the actual tire to see if it was slashed or if it had a nail in it? I mean, do they know the reason for the flat tire?
Yeah, it was a nail in it.
A nail, okay. Interesting.
So
okay.
Tommy and them, they call the police, and the police come down there and they got her car. And I'm assuming they took it back to the police station. I don't know. I don't know if they.
I don't know if they removed it from the scene or not right away. I'm sure they probably ran some diagnostics there on the car while it was there before they moved it. But now, throughout all this, Brooks is acting like nothing wrong's happening. They had a little spat. That was it. Now, throughout these searches and stuff, of course, he is still listed as the main suspect. But, basically, they don't want to make an arrest because they don't want double jeopardy to go into play. And I'm going to play a little clip here in a little bit that kind of explains that a little more from the sheriff. And everything that we're going to discuss to you all is public information. It's just we have a little bit more inside information that might not have been discussed as far as the same way that the news reporters would have put it. So it's not like we're going to have really any inside information, but there might be something you haven't heard of. Now, as far as Brooks goes, did he help search for her at all throughout the hundreds of searches that were made for Crystal?
No, and they have a big family also, on his mom's side. Uh, and their Brooks or his brother or mom or sister never came out. I kept a list of who all searched. I would get your name and phone number and send you to an area. So,
Right.
and I've got documented proof that he never searched, or I would have had him on the list. And
Yeah,
yeah,
I
he
know.
never came out.
I know when I showed up, we had to sign a list, and you told us you had a map, and you told people where to go. And then once we reported back to you, we told you how far we went via whether it be a cornfield marker or something like that. You know, and let me tell you, this was July 2015, 4th of July weekend. Talk about hot weather. And plus, wasn't there a lot of flooding right before all this? The rivers were pretty high up, weren't they?
Yeah, it rained that whole weekend. It
Mhm.
poured down, and
Mhm.
the rivers had got up out of the banks, where we were searching at, into the cornfields, and
Yeah, it was a pretty muddy show when we went. I just remember we both wore our water boots because we didn't know what type of atmosphere we were gonna get into. It really didn't matter, but we came prepared, Lord willing, But okay, so you mentioned Brooks' brother. Now let's get into that a little bit. Brooks' brother,
okay.
his name is Nick, right?
Yes,
And Nick worked for Bardstown Police Department, the local PD there in Bardstown, correct?
yes,
Okay. And when they were interviewing Brooks, and that's also going to be in the clip I'm going to show you, his brother basically called him up, right?
yes. While he was in the interview with John Snow, the lead detective,
Mm-hmm.
and like I say, you'll see in the clip while John's interviewing him, he gets a phone call from Nick. And you
Okay.
can hear Brooks' side of the conversation.
Okay. Let's go ahead and play that while we're talking
Okay.
about it. Okay. So there's no sound.
No, I don't hear no
Okay.
sound.
Okay. I had this trouble last time. So here's what we're going to do. Give me just a second. Gotta love the StreamYards, guys. All right. It actually works better if anybody else uses StreamYard. Have something open in a whole new window, and that's gonna work out a little better for you. All right. Hold on just a second. All right, so let's try this again. So you all heard the audio on the first one then, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Inside the Nelson County Sheriff's
Okay, could you hear that?
Yes.
Okay.
office, behind the brick walls, Brooks Houck answered the detective's questions.
What do you think happened? I'm shocked. I do not know.
Days after his girlfriend was reported missing, he told the detective he last saw Crystal after a night at his mom's farm. It was late, and they were at the home they shared.
I went to bed immediately.
Brooks said he couldn't explain how her car ended up on the side of the Bluegrass Parkway.
I guess the biggest problem that I have is that most women are not going to walk away from their purse and their cell phone in the car.
I agree with you.
Brooks answered questions, and then he answered his phone.
Can I get this?
Sure.
It was Brooks' brother on the other end, Bardstown police officer Nick Houck.
I know you told me innocent people got jammed up, but if you're telling me to leave, I'll get up and leave. If you want me.
And then the interview was over. Taking his brother's advice, Brooks left the interrogation room.
Nick kind of injected himself in a way that I didn't like. Ethics and integrity sometimes are all we have, and I didn't think he displayed a good example of either.
It didn't sit right with Nick's boss, the Bardstown police chief. And then, when Nick refused to talk to investigators, Chief McCubbin had had enough.
But I said, I am going to the mayor as soon as you leave this office, and you are not going to wear a badge. You do not deserve to be a police officer. And he was very, okay. I thought, wow, okay.
Nick was fired from the Bardstown Police Department on the same day his brother, Brooks Houck, was named the main suspect in Crystal Rogers' disappearance. It was October 2015, and under a different sheriff, though newly elected Sheriff Raymond Penaroa stands by the naming of the suspect.
I would say he's still the main suspect in the case. Nothing has changed in the investigation that leads us to believe anybody else is the main suspect.
But Brooks has never been charged.
What people don't understand, or the misconception is, yes, we can go make an arrest today, but if we don't have what we need, we go to trial and he walks out that same day and says, yep, I did it. You can't charge him. It's double jeopardy. So the main part is you got to get your evidence, your ducks in a row, and once you have that, you'll move forward with the case.
Because moving forward is important. But this sheriff says more than anything, he wants to get it right.
I believe it's what we do, our job, and I believe the family deserves that. We may not have a body, but at the end of the day, closure for them, closure for this town.
Okay. So, I'm probably going to show more clips throughout the week here because I don't want to put it all in one segment, you know. And Sammy, you're welcome to join me on those if you want to. But basically, right after that, they called his brother Nick in, who still worked for the police department at this time, and had him do a lie detector test. And he failed the lie detector test, you guys. Now, I'm not sure what all questions were asked, but I would, because he interfered with the case, you know, that kind of caught those detectives, hey, and FBI at this time, correct? Red flags.
Yeah, yes. State police and the FBI, you know, had interviewed him. Or the state police is in the interview, but the FBI, I think, were brought in too.
Now, did he ever do a lie detector test?
Yeah, and his was found inconclusive.
That's right. I remember him saying that on Nancy Grace, and it's the way that he said it. He was like, it was found to be inconclusive, I think is what they said. You know, he's got that real Southern twang, you know. But not that there's anything wrong with Southern twang. We've all got it here in these parts. But it was just, I can't stand to hear him speak. But yeah, and he also said on Nancy Grace, which are new signs that have recently been put up within the last couple of weeks. He said, well, I've been told by his attorney, or he's been advised that what he's doing so far is working and to just keep on keeping on. I mean, what
Yes.
does that tell you? What does that tell you?
Oh, he's a character now.
And so Brooks is a contractor. He builds houses. And he was allegedly caught on film, or I'm not sure how they actually caught him. I thought it was surveillance video, but maybe a worker or something. But at Lowe's, caught stealing a lot of shingles, right?
Yes,
And
he would order, say, 10 bundles and maybe get 15 or 20.
oh, okay,
I
gotcha.
don't know the exact amount. I'm just saying whatever he ordered and paid for, he would always take more.
Ah,
And so they started watching him on camera. And then finally, file charges against him.
but those charges were dismissed, correct?
Yes.
What, inconclusive evidence?
No, they blamed the Lowe's employees, said they should have called it.
Gotcha.
And he moved the trial out of Nelson County to Warren County in Bowling Green.
Interesting.
And the judge said, well, it was really the employee's fault, if they knew he was taking more than he should, they should have stopped him and not let him take them. And so he throwed it out of court. He just dismissed it altogether.
Interesting. Now, I'm sure that judge in Warren County probably wasn't even aware of what else was going on with this man.
Yeah, I don't know. I know
Who
our
knows
local
what the
news
judge knew?
people were there. Yeah. He's pretty.
Wow.
It's been a lot of media coverage, so the
A
judge could
whole
have
lot.
known.
But at this time, there hadn't been much spotlight. I think the spotlight kind of went after that. After that episode had happened at Lowe's, I think what Dr. Phil picked up on it. Nancy Grace had already picked up on it, but Dr. Phil picked up on it after that, and then Megyn Kelly picked up on it, and then the Oxygen channel has a really, really good series. And you filmed and got to meet the people from the Oxygen channel, correct? Stephanie?
Yes, they come down and probably was here a month or longer, and then come at
Wow.
different times. And they even come to when we had, our first anniversary, for Tommy. They come to it, come to the church that night.
Okay, so what happened with Tommy, Crystal's dad? Tommy was investigating and searching with you pretty much every waking hour of every day that he could, correct? And you were his right-hand man.
Yes, and we had a team. We had put together a team, and one of the girls started calling us Team Crystal, and these people were dedicated. I mean, we searched every weekend for a year and a half. Well,
Yeah,
up
we had
until-
neon shirts made, bright pink, because pink was Crystal's favorite color. We had tons of fundraisers and stuff for her. And, I'd like to say I wasn't a part of it all the time, but I do consider myself Team Crystal because I have met the family. I've met quite a few people that have interacted with you all. And just in my heart, I feel like I'm part of Team Crystal. And, we had a big rally at the high school with fundraiser where they sold the shirts and stuff. And that was an amazing turnout. I mean, even the 2 major news stations were there as well covering that. And that's where I got to meet Tommy and Sherry for the second time. And that's where I got the big old hug from Tommy. And that was just, I just can't forget that hug. That was just an amazing hug. And so, go ahead and just let them know how you went and searched with Tommy, and then what led up to what happened with Tommy.
Tommy he spent every waking moment either searching, or trying to figure out what happened. He done his own investigating work, and just he gave every minute of his life to trying to find her. And he had one Saturday morning, he had taken Crystal's. I guess this was a year and a half after Crystal went missing.
2 years, I believe. Almost, yeah, about a year and a half, because it was November of 2016, right? And she went missing 2015. So yeah, about a year and a half.
And he and that morning, had taken one of Crystal's son, his grandson, hunting, and somebody, when they got out of the truck and started walking to the deer blind, somebody shot and killed him. And
Tommy.
Killed Tommy. And the state police, has not ruled it, to be a homicide yet, but we know somebody killed him.
Well, if you think about it, it was opening morning, deer season. Okay. It's pretty dark when you're, with me being a hunter, you have to get out in those woods. It has to be dark when you walk out to that blind and sit down. You wait for that sun to come up. So it's pretty dark when you actually start to walk to that blind. It was opening morning. That means, opening morning basically is the first day of hunting season. And the grandson, which was Crystal's son, he was 10 at the time.
11.
11 at the time. Okay. And mind you, they were on their private property. Keep that in mind. That was conjuncted to the BG Parkway. So right on the other side of their property, right here is the BG Parkway. Okay. Keep that in mind. Now, the Oxygen series on the Crystal Rogers case really fine tunes what they think happened, which when they got there, and the state police had already, discovered this, but the Oxygen channel kind of lets you in and see, what happened and what they think happened. Now, listen, when you're deer hunting, when you shoot a deer is only maybe 4 or 5 feet tall, but where you're going to be shooting is maybe not even 3 feet off the ground. How tall was Tommy?
I'd say he's probably 6'2" or 3, maybe 6'3".
Okay. And Tommy was shot where?
In the chest.
Okay, think about that. That's right about a good 5.5 feet off the ground. Nowhere near where a deer would be shot, even if it was an accidental hunting. No way. No. And right there in the heart. And state police had actually found where a rifle had kicked back off the tree, and had also found where trees had been actually sawed off to clear out that area for an easy escape and entrance into that area, correct?
Yes. And where they could have a clearer view, at Tommy leaning against the tree.
So, and, semnatics and lasers and everything, it was clear cut shot.
Yeah, they know exactly where the shot come from.
Which, where that tree kicked back is more than likely where it happened.
Yeah, that's where the branches were cut.
Now, at this time, was Nick still part of the Bardstown Police Department, or had he done been fired?
Yeah, he had done been fired.
And he was fired because?
Interfering with the case.
So that clip that we had just seen, when he called Brooks during that interview and he told him to get up and leave, they basically looked at that as interference in the case. And as a police
Yes.
officer, that's not something you want to do, family or not. You just don't do that. And, like like the chief said, he just said okay. Like it was no big deal. Now, this was not the first police department that Nick had worked for. Nick had actually worked for a different police department and ended up transferring to Bardstown Police Department after working for another police department for a few years, I think. And he actually worked the same shift as Jason Ellis. Now, Jason Ellis, there's another case in Bardstown that is unsolved, along with Tommy's, and along with a family, a mother, which was a teacher, and her 16-year-old daughter, I believe. Was she 16?
Yeah, I think 15 or 16. Yeah.
And they were actually ambushed and murdered in their home. That's also a cold case. All of these cases are within a 15-mile radius? All in the same town.
Yeah, closer than that, probably 10 miles.
Wow. Because Bardstown's not a large city, is it?
No.
They call it small town America, like the most beautiful town in America is what they call it, or what they used to call it. Not sure what they call it now, but I know that it is a very beautiful city. I visited there many times. I'm probably actually going there this next week. Somebody had got us a deer and gave it to us, so we took it to go get processed. But, the Oxygen Channel, that series, kind of alludes to the fact that, these detectives think that there's a possibility that these all could be connected, in some way, shape, or fashion. So, it just really makes you wonder. And think about this. Each one of these cases happened, what? One happened 1 year. The next one happened the next year. The next one happened the next year. They each followed each other each year. So, Jason Ellis was what, 2014? Right?
Yes, I believe so.
Crystal disappeared 2015.
Well, now the mother and daughter that was killed were next.
Okay. And that happened when?
The year after Jason got killed. And it started with Jason Ellis, the police officer.
Okay.
Got ambushed off the BG Parkway. He was getting off the exit, and they killed him. Just almost a year later.
Now, there was a tree branch, right? He was actually heading on his way home from work, right?
Yeah.
And it's almost like a tree branch was strategically placed to where they knew him being in the position that he was in would recover that from the road.
Yes, correct. He got out of his cruiser to move the branch.
Any decent police officer is going to remove that. Not only for his safety, but for anybody else's safety that's traveling that same exit. And they knew that.
So he was shot and killed. And then about a year later, they found the mother and the 16-year-old daughter killed. And then the next year, Crystal went missing. And then about a year and a half later, Tommy gets killed. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 unsolved murders, within 4 years, 4.5 years that's not been solved.
Is that 4 or 5?
5.
5. Okay.
The mother and daughter, Tommy, Crystal, and Jason.
Okay.
And Jason got killed on the exit of the Bluegrass Parkway. The Netherlands live about 2 miles from the BG Parkway. Tommy was killed right beside the BG, and then Crystal's car was found on the BG.
Wow.
So everything was tied to, that road.
And if you travel down the BG, what mile marker is it that the sign that if you see it, it gives the details that I actually listed as a thumbnail for this video? There might be a little more detail to that sign, but do you remember the mile marker that her car was found on?
Yeah, mile marker 9.
Mile marker 9. And is that south or north?
Actually, it's going west.
Okay,
The
going
BG
west.
runs east and west. So it was on the west, going west on westbound side.
Away from Bardstown or going to
Yeah.
Bardstown?
Coming
Away.
leaving Bardstown. Yeah,
Leaving Bardstown. Okay.
going toward Elizabethtown. And there's a big sign up, on side the BG.
Right,
Talks about Crystal missing.
That's the sign I was talking about. Yeah. Of course, it shows a picture of her. It shows a picture of her car. The details, the date, what she looks like, and who to contact if you did see her or see anything that happened on that day. So, where we're at right now, as far as all of this, you've got Brooks. He's the main suspect. There's not been any arrests made. There's not been any arrest made in Tommy's. Of course, they're still labeling that as a accidental death investigation. They can't necessarily label it a homicide just due to the lack of evidence per se. So, and then with Crystal, that Oxygen series actually went into a whole lot of detail. Crystal's car, didn't they spray luminol or Blue Star into that car? And did they find anything as far as, was there anything found in the car, evidence-wise?
No, not Crystal's car.
Okay. Now, I do remember seeing Nick actually lived with his grandmother, and they wanted her to come in for questioning. And of course, this was all on the news and stuff. And she actually pleaded the Fifth Amendment. She went silent. Something to do with a car that she had owned. And she had since sold that car. But they were they able to retrieve that car after it had been sold, or?
Yes, they've
Okay.
They found the car in Louisville at a car lot.
Okay. And I'm sure there's probably still logistics, or has that already been done? We just don't know the evidence. We don't know the details of that. Of course, this is still an ongoing investigation, so there's a lot that we don't know. But as far as the grandmother, you have your right. Anybody has their right to plead the Fifth Amendment. But I'm sorry, but my gut tells me that she has to know something.
Let me give you an update on why her car, was such a hot topic. The night Crystal went missing, the farm that she was at is owned by Brooks' mother.
Okay.
And that's the farm they're talking about they go to. Well, when you pass their driveway, the next road is a dirt road that goes back in to the woods. That grandma's white car was seen that night that Crystal went missing, the Friday night, back in the woods.
Oh, really?
And it was a coon hunter that seen it, and he thought the car was stolen. And so he went and checked the license plate to make sure, it was Kentucky tag or Nelson County, and it had Nelson County tags on it. And he's the one reported it to us about the white car. And after, further Tommy investigating, it come back to grandma. But they sold the car, right after that.
Huh, interesting. Now, why in the world would they want to do something like that? Did they know that it had been seen at this time, or they just went ahead and sold it? Who knows?
Well, no, we were searching one day. Actually, we were searching off the BG, and this is, I'm going to say a year later, and we got discussing the white car. And I thought the white car was parked beside the road. I didn't know when the guy called me, I didn't know it was in the woods. And we were searching that day, and me and Tommy got talking about it. And he said, we need to find that white car. And I never thought the white car in the beginning was a big deal until I said, Tommy said the car was, back there by the fence. And I said, what do you mean, in the woods? And he said, yeah. And so then that's when we really alerted on the white car. And so we started putting it on Facebook. Everybody, the people, our group, Team Crystal, everybody would share, hey, we're looking for this white car. And then Tommy got a phone call and said that grandma had a car like that. And so I went to their house looking for the car, and I found a different white car. So I called Tommy and told him, I said, that's not grandma's car. This is a different car. Well, Tommy called the guy back, I guess, that told him. And the guy said that he, Tommy, found that they knew it was grandma's car. And they, after that, they sold the car.
Interesting. And then grandma pleads Fifth Amendment.
Yeah.
So that was never brought back up, I guess. But wasn't there search warrants that were conducted on her house?
Yes.
Okay. And of course, we won't know really. I mean, as far as it being an open investigation, we really won't know what was obtained from that house. But, what we can do is just pray that, sometimes evidence as far as DNA and stuff like that, that can take anywhere from 6 months to years to come back, depending on how busy the state is. And you also have to keep in mind, the state is actually limited on the amount of evidence that they can even turn into a case unless the judge warrants for more. I think I had talked to a state policeman one time, and he said that typically on a standard case, I think they're only allowed to get, in the state of Kentucky, 10 items of evidence. Can you believe that?
Yes.
So, so we've got Brooks' main suspect. Crystal still has not been found. And we have Sherry, which is Crystal's mom, who now, is a widow and who is taking care of 4 of Crystal's 5 kids. And they were granted visitation for Eli, but I have since found out that they actually were revoked visitation and have not seen little Eli. And how long has it been?
I'm not for sure on it.
I think I heard they haven't seen him in a little over a year. So it's just sad. It's sad. Not only is she missing her grandson, she's also missing her husband, her daughter, and I'm sure the other children are missing their little brother and their mama. So this family has just been through the ringer and more. So, pray for this family. Pray that, justice is solved or justice is granted. And there still has yet to been a body recovered on this case. Now, I do know that on the Oxygen series, you all were searching at night, and cadaver dogs had hit on some type of dirt near a silo. Now, was that in Bardstown or was that somewhere else?
I'm sorry. I didn't hear the
Sammy?
question.
Sammy zoning on me. Listen to you. I said on the Oxygen series, there were cadaver dogs that actually hit next to a silo on some dirt while you all were searching. And the Oxygen series showed that. Can you kind of give us a little bit of insight on, what dogs it was and what they found?
The dogs just alerted on a place there where he burns pallets, but it come back to nothing. So
Okay. All right. So, I mean, they can't get a break in this case. And it's been 4 years now. And the 2-year anniversary of Tommy's death just hit November 19th of this year. And I didn't know this, but you all had just had a float for Tommy and Crystal last week, right?
yes,
Yeah, I wish I would have known about that. Of course, I was sick anyway, so I probably wouldn't have been able to go. But recently, within the last 2 weeks, there's been some new signs that have been posted in Bardstown. Some pretty interesting signs.
can you check your text?
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, Sammy has got to go. He's got some stuff he has to do. So maybe we can get him back on and discuss this. And I'll try to cover some more on this week. But what I'll do after Sammy leaves is I can go ahead and take some questions and stuff in the chat if you all want. Sammy, it's been great having you on here. I appreciate it, hon. Much love to you. And I enjoy your friendship. And I really do appreciate you coming on here.
Okay, I will talk to you later.
Okay, sounds good, hon. Thanks, hon.
Okay, bye.
Bye. Okay, all right. Well, we pretty much got everything I wanted to talk about in the stream. And sorry that Sammy had to abruptly leave, but you know how duty calls. So, is there any questions you all would like to ask in the chat before we hop off here? All right, I'm pulling the chat up. Yeah, honey, boo boo. The road was used for a quick, easy getaway. I do agree. 5 people killed and none solved. Right? What's up with that? I don't know. Makes you wonder, doesn't it? Okay, so you're asking who called Brooks' phone during the interview. It was his brother that called. Let's see. Yeah, and we have to keep this case alive. We can't stop talking about it. We have to keep it in the limelight. Remember that, you guys. And, I am here to put out truth. And, we have First Amendment rights. And anything that I have discussed on this broadcast has been put in the public spotlight. There's been nothing that I have stated here tonight that has not already been put out there. Just letting you all know that. And I'm going to show some clips. I'm going to get them together this week and maybe even tomorrow and show you all some more of what's been put out there. And I might even just put it in a small video and then take some questions in the chat then too. And let's see what Jamie, Texas Chick. Thanks, Case Malls, for keeping this case alive. Oh, much love. Yeah, that's what we have to do. Honey Boo Boo says, that doesn't surprise me that it was revoked. Brooks is such a control freak, narcissist. He'd do anything and everything to keep his, quote, son away from Crystal's family. Yeah, because I do think that, the baby, even though he was 2 or 3 years old, was, you know, possibly a witness, and they didn't want him speaking. And that's just sad. Lucy's World says supposedly she went missing that Saturday, or that was the last time she was seen per Brooke. Yeah, per Brooke or Brooks. Between Crystal, Tommy, Jason Ellis, all of which are. Yeah, I agree, honey boo boo. Yeah, she has a son and another daughter, Casey and Brooke. Thanks, honey boo boo. I appreciate it. Alrighty, guys. Well, I appreciate you all coming on here. Like I said, I'm gonna be talking about this case quite a bit. I'm also going to conduct a formal interview, and I do plan on meeting Cass Lynn. And she's actually local within the area, so yeah. Blaze Fairchild, thanks, Kay Smalls. I hope and pray. And, that's all we can do right now is just hope and pray, get the word out, keep this case alive, and, we can't stop. So I appreciate everybody that's come out tonight, and I'll have more for you this week sometime. I will schedule it at least 5 to 12 hours in advance. I'm not very good on scheduling, never have been, but I am trying to do a little bit better. All right, much love, you guys. Have a good night. God bless.